Welcome to Soul Chats, the podcast where I delve into the depth of human experience and explore what it is to be a human as we embark on a journey of self-discovery, reflection, and meaningful conversations that truly nourish the spirit. From profound insights to heartwarming stories, each episode is truly a sanctuary for your soul. Get ready to be inspired and connect with the essence of who we truly are. This is Soul Chat. Now, the only thing that was disappointing about this conversation was the fact that I pushed stop at the end, and we carried on chatting for another hour, and it was so interesting that I wish I'd recorded it. However, the interview itself was also extremely interesting. Melissa's a beautiful soul. She really is. She shines so bright, and you can really get that in the interview. I'm so grateful that we have these amazing people out there sharing their light, sharing their knowledge, sharing their wisdom as you're here. Mel and I really were vibing, and we had some great things to discuss. We went from everything to coaching to 5D business to even talking a little bit more about galactic things. So I really hope you enjoy it, and I am sure there will be a part 2. And also what I think is really key is that a lot of the time people who will be interested in these sort of conversations are people who've had a nudge or an understanding or lived life going, I don't fit in, I don't fit in, I don't fit in. And now realizing, oh, that's why I wasn't supposed to fit in, because I'm here for this time instead, Seeing that through like the lives of yours and other people and things like that. So that's kind of the intention of what we're doing, as well as I just love having these sort of conversations, and it's an opportunity for us to have something to add to our websites and to have for people to find out something else about you and find you and things like that. So that's what I'm all about this year, is just getting out there, talking to people, sharing people with the world, just because it's needed, eh?
It's so neat. And I love it. I love how because when we meet people, we have these beautiful in-depth conversations, right?
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh my God, I wish I would have captured that. And so for you to have a platform where you bring people on and have these conversations, and it's like people are getting to listen or fly on the wall and learn. And
Yes.
and it's like when you hear that information, you have a soul remembrance. It's like, oh my God, that I remember that. It resonates and opens and activates something within them. So yeah, I love it. Love how you
and the thing of resonance is what I talk about all the time, because resonance is frequency. And so when something resonates, it means that it's aligning with the frequency of who you are, your soul self, or it's a resonance of a guidance of, okay, look in this direction, because this is giving you a tap on the shoulder, or is it giving you a little nudge or something like that. So yeah, I like that too. And we know when we meet people, or when we talk to people, when we hear conversations, we're like, yes. It's so good. Actually, on a side, it's quite funny, because when I started my coaching business in 2000, I started a coaching. I'd been in the fitness industry, and then I got into holistic coaching, and I called my business Evolve Holistic.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, so Evolve was like my branding forever and a day, until I opened my studio Prana Bar, and then from there. But it was hard to let go of Evolve, because you get so used to that's me. So it's so cool when I see that. I'm like, oh my
God.
God.
It's there. It's like I'm mirroring what you had in you back then.
So what does Evolve stand for you?
Yeah, so Evolve for me. So I've had the Evolve program after I lost Elevate. So Elevate was my co-working space. And then when I lost that, I was in the darkest of darks. And then this Evolve program kind of channeled through, and I'm like, okay, what do I call it? And then, Evolve. I'm like, okay, great. But for me, Evolve is why we're here, right? So it has a deep meaning, personal meaning of it. It reminds me that we're forever evolving. Like, this is why we're here. We're forever learning and growing and evolving. So it's just been so it has a deep meaning. Like, that when I hear that word, it's a resonance within me to remind me, like, keep going even through the challenging times. It's an invitation to evolve. Let's continue to evolve. And then through my missions is, now that I'm going through my evolution, I'm here to wake people up to evolve themselves. And now when I'm going into the business world, we're not only evolving ourselves, but we're also evolving the consciousness of our business. You know, we have a what's that word? A responsibility as light leaders and light workers to bring that evolution to the business space and redefine how we do business.
Amazing. And really, I keep saying, we are in the part of the Bible called Revelations, and we are in this new time and this end time. And we're also in that part in yoga of the Kali Yuga, the end cycle. So we're in this end time. It's just where we are. And what the Kali Yuga phase and all of those cycles mean is civilizations end all the time. When we think back to, where are the people of Lemuria? Where are the people of Atlantis? Where are the people from back in Egypt in Cleopatra days? And when we think about it, those people were just like you and I. They were living lives, and that civilization came to an end, and a new civilization was birthed. And there are cycles that we obviously need to go through. And you and I, and many of us, have probably lived in Lemuria and Atlantis and Egypt and all the things. So we're now here doing this thing. And we're at the end of this civilization, and we're at the beginning of a birthing of a new. And like you say, we come with wisdom and knowledge and intention of what that's going to look like. And it's so powerful to see this revelations in this end cycle like Kali Yuga, to see businesses disintegrate, to way business is done, to see the way schooling is done, the way banking is done, the way governance is done. It's like it's all dissolving and disintegrating. Yay. And so what can be birthed in this new civilization? What does the new civilization look like? What does this next cycle look like? And I'm sure there was people at the end times of Atlantis that went, oh my God. There would have been some that were calm and going, okay, it's an end cycle. And there would have been some that would have been running around in circles going, it's ending.
And it's crazy because back then with those guys, it's like it was all, they lived in this beautiful higher consciousness reality, right? And when that cycle came to the end, it was really like, oh my God, because humanity was spiraling more into the forgotten, right? And more into the density. Whereas now we're in that exciting time. It's like, oh my God, but it's like, even through the pandemic, I was so excited because I knew what was coming. I knew it was like, oh my God, yes, we're spiraling up. We're spiraling back into remembrance. And like you said, what could be like our new reality, what we're birthing in, seeing everything falling apart, how we get to choose and redefine what life looks like. Absolutely. And we're like, so it's really exciting, like really exciting times.
So when you say you are working more with business now, what does that look like?
Yes, I'm working more with, I've really niched down more into the light workers, the conscious leaders like you and I that are out there to come back into this time to help assist, the big great awakening. And prior to that, I was just focusing on helping the person evolve, the individual evolve from their trauma and all that kind of stuff to awaken to the truth of who they are. But I went, oh my God, it's so much more deeper than that, because these conscious leaders, these light workers, they're in that, a lot of them are in that wounded light worker, in that I need to give everything for free. They're very much in their feminine, like, oh, we'll just flow and, I'm just going to channel something and I'll put it out there and I'll sit back and see how I feel, which is beautiful. But they're forgetting, they've gone so far into that feminine energy. They're really forgetting that masculine structure, because they've woken up, right? And they're repelling against that 3D matrix. But it's like, no, how can we still use the healthy masculine that is going to support our business so the feminine can flow? And let's just flip the 3D way of doing business into the 5D. Let's get really aligned and realize that our business is more than us. It's more than going out and healing people and humanity. It's a consciousness. And we need to connect in with that energy, that frequency of that consciousness, and be the co-CEO of our business
Mm.
and have the healthy masculine structure. And for me to go into that 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 niche really lights me up, because I'm like, no, I need to go wake everyone up. But it's like, fuck, that ripple effect that I can have on helping evolve collective consciousness. Like, for example, a client messaged me yesterday. I've been working with her for 4 months and we've just come to an end. And she's been a healer of so many different modalities for 12 to 15 years. And she's gone with the flow. She'll message people her BSB and account number, and she couldn't scale her business. And it was just so manual. And she messaged me yesterday. Now we set up links and all that kind of stuff. She said, Mel, I've just had this week 4 new clients sign up and I've just sent them links and it was so seamless and effortless. And she said, thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And I had a moment where I sat there and went, fuck, the ripple effect by helping one conscious leader. And she's gone out there and now going to help 4 people with her medicine. That is going to evolve collective consciousness, and that makes me so exciting, because I don't need to just go out there and heal people. I can now, with all my knowledge and wisdom with business and, structure and systems and all that kind of stuff, I can help beautiful light workers put in that healthy masculine in their business.
And I think the thing is that it's good the way you've worded that, the idea of the healthy masculine and the balance between masculine and feminine, because especially light leaders and people who are in the frequency realm and things, there can be a misunderstanding to the masculine, because of course the masculine can be seen as the 3D, as the patriarchy, as the realm that we've coming out of. And so the feminine in that respect has in the past had experience of oppression and not powerful. There is, of course, powerful feminine energy, and understanding that, okay, so how can you be in the softness and the receiving of the feminine, and also in the structure and in the direction of the masculine, rather than thinking that masculine is aggressive or overpowering and the 3D. So I really love the way that you're reframing that for people, because I think, like you say, a lot of light leaders and people working in the healing realm tend to be resistant to that structure and direction, and even focusing on money and bringing structure into their business and things like that. So that's a powerful way of looking at it.
Yeah. And it's so important. And I also bring in the elements on helping evolve themselves, like, because when they're working in, okay, I want to bring structure into my business, a lot of, like you talked about, Wendy, a lot of that wounding comes up either from this past lives with our conditioning, or previous past lives, a lot of the witch wound and the suppression and things like that. So a lot of things are going to be coming up. So as we're working on building the structure and really anchoring it into that 5D and into your soul's purpose and mission, it's really about healing ourselves and breaking through from all those limitations and all the energetic, what's that word? Energetic,
entanglement or something.
Entanglements, from this lifetime and previous lifetimes, and breaking free from that, so then they can rise more up and bring empowerment to that feminine that can embrace that masculine. So I do a lot of work with, and that's why I say it's evolving ourselves and evolving our business. So I'm really working on those 2 parts, because I think it's so important as, way showers, that we're holding people's hand and guiding humanity to come back into self, right? That we really need to work on ourselves as well, to be able to do that. And I see a lot of people in the industry that spiritually bypass, and And that breaks my heart because they just don't have safe space to open up and really look inwards. And you have to do the work within yourself. We have a responsibility. We came and chose to incarnate in this time and earth to do this work, that we have a responsibility to free ourselves from those burdens and our limitations and guide our brothers and sisters back home, you know.
And I think particularly if you're working with people who are in business, that's such an important piece, because two things. First of all, the guide, the healer, the teacher, the person who is supporting others, it's vital that they're very clear on their own wounding, even if the healing is still ongoing, which always is, because we're still incarnate.
Yeah.
However, also that empowers them to support people in their healing process, even if what you're teaching is not necessarily healing modalities that they can use. They've got those modalities.
Yep.
But to then actually recognize, like, okay, you are stepping so you're the business coach, and you're supporting people who are in business to understand that they're in leadership, even if they don't have staff necessarily, because we can look at it from a staff perspective. But when you are supporting clients who come to you, you're in a leadership role.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is a piece that's really important, because we can't be in leadership if we're spiritually bypassing.
Yeah, 100%. And I love how you talked about, you know, people have that perception, leadership, that you have to be in a management role or have staff, you know, underneath you to lead. And it's like, no, we all have a responsibility to be a leader, whether you're in business or not. We are leading the next generation. We are leading the people around us. We are leading ourselves. And it's so important to come into that leadership, because that leadership is powerful. It is so powerful how we show up in the world and what our standards and values are and how we're responding and how much love and kindness we're emitting. It's leadership. Everyone has a responsibility. It doesn't matter if you're in business or not, you know, to be in leadership. It's beautiful qualities.
I like what you said about responsibility, because what I really feel into for people is that when the person steps into a leadership role and understands that they are in a leadership role, there is an intrinsic knowing that leadership has an element of responsibility. And that responsibility is so powerful. You're responsible to be self-aware. You're responsible to heal yourself. You're responsible to take ownership of what you're bringing and what you are bringing into the world, and what your contribution is. So there is responsibility and leadership. And I think if people miss that piece when they're in the healer role and all that, and that's why I think sometimes when light leaders and healers have there is an element of disempowerment. Even like that's why there is disempowerment financially and other areas as well, because there is lacking of leadership, lacking of responsibility. So that's a really powerful piece for you if you think about your role of supporting them to step into leadership and knowing what that feels like. What a ripple effect, like you say, that is going to have on the clients they work with, the way they show up in their business, the way they show up in the world, and the way that transforms business in general.
Yeah, it's a huge part. Like, if I reckon leadership should be a subject that is mandatory in schooling system. Like, if we were all taught leadership, and I love how you described it, because it's a responsibility of our own healing. It's a responsibility of how we're showing up and how we choose to show up and who we choose to be. It is so important. And that's why, you know, 80% of my containers are all about that leadership. It's all about the healing. It's all about that empowerment. It's all about that remembrance and stepping in, because that we are our greatest asset. Like, we are our greatest asset. And it doesn't matter if we're talking in terms of business, it doesn't matter how amazing the strategy is. It doesn't matter how amazing your business coach is. If you are not looking after yourself and investing in you and knowing how to show up in your power, your business is not going to work. You cannot have the impact that you desire because you are not putting yourself first. So that is why, 80% of everything I do, it's all about remembrance and coming home and evolving and leadership and all that goodness.
And I like that because what it explains, because I know that you put yourself out there as a 5D business coach. And what I really like about this is that not everybody has an understanding of what we're talking about 5D. Like sometimes when we talk about 5D, I know that like some people have a perception of it being rainbows and butterflies and ayahuasca. And so what we've just been talking about, this is 5D business.
Yeah.
How do you see it that way? What do you see 5D business being?
Yeah, so 5D business is really seeing is first and foremost is yourself, taking yourself on that evolution journey. But in terms of business, it's that unity. It's that coming back into collaboration and focusing on that impact. How can we go out there and create greater impact instead of how can we go out there and get a, 7-figure month? It's really focus in on our impact. 5D business, it's all about that holistic approach, that holistic strategy, which I bring in. It is looking after your sacred body, your energetic body. It is looking after your mental health. It is then having a business that aligned so deeply in with your soul mission that the foundations of 5D business is all about, does it connect in with your true soul value? Does it connect in with your purpose and your mission? And if everything, how I look at business, if I'm like, oh, I want to put out this program or this offer, I'll go back and go, does it align with my vision, my values, my mission? If it does, if it ticks 2 out of the 3 foundational pillars, then it's a no. Then I know it's coming from a place of ego, or then I know it's coming from that little bit of me that is comparing myself to what others are doing in the industry. It's really coming back and being in true integrity of your soul mission. And it's all about unity and love. It's all about not comparing yourself to others out there. It's all about like, how can we support our brothers and sisters and come from a place of like, I am your biggest cheerleader. And I say this to my friends that are in business and my clients. I want to see you win, because if I see you go out and sign a client, I am winning. I've signed a client. I have helped that person. And really coming from that place and going, how can we collaborate to create greater impact out there?
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, there is so much in 5D business, which I see, and everything that the business strategy, every piece of it is laced and coming back into 5D qualities. And if it doesn't, it's out the door because it's coming from a place of scarcity or fear or ego.
Well, it's very brave too, isn't it, in this transitional time? While we're still very aware and conditioned by the 3D to go and to have a vision of what could be and how we've envisioned the future and how business could be done. And so I'd imagine that obviously for the ones who have been on this journey, who've had this calling, who've always known they're different, that transition is a little bit easier because it's like, oh, well, this makes so much more sense to me. And okay. However, have you worked with people who are more in the 3D conditioning and sharing with them, okay, there is another way? And have you had any experiences of how that went?
Yeah, so I had this beautiful lady. I've just finished a container, and I had this beautiful lady who is still, her husband and her family are still very in the church realm, still very religious. But she, there's something that resonates, going back to resonate, there's something in her that resonated to me. So she's got a lot of conditioning, and a lot of her beliefs is still very heavily in religious and the church institution. So the way I love to ease people in, and spirituality is for everyone, whether you believe in ayahuasca, crystals, energy. Spirituality means to me, if you wanting to better yourself, if you wanting to evolve and become the best version of you, and you put that love and dedication into that, you are spiritual. So what I did with her was really looking inside and looking at how she's reacting, getting her to have a lot of awareness about herself and her thoughts and feelings, getting her aware of how she's showing up and perceiving business, and just subtly shifting her perspective. And instead of using, God or the universe, I always interchange it and say, your higher power, what do you believe in? So when I'm talking to her, it's like, your God. Are you connecting in with your God? Are you connecting in what your soul wants and what, you've contracted here for? So when I'm shifting it very subtly, then the magic came, the creativity spark. She was so aware of her not putting herself first, and where she's depleted, and how she's showing up very reactively to her children, and her husband. So to see that shift, and to see that once you heal all that stuff, it's amazing, because we're creative beings, right? And the creativeness in her just came out, and she had all these downloads of her packages and her offer, and how to change her, evolve her business. And it was just so beautiful. So even working with someone like that isn't quite very opened in the terminology and our beliefs and the awareness, we can still go out there and create impact, just meeting our clients where they are at. So yeah.
And it's interesting, because when we look back now, even say 20 years ago, 15 years ago, things like meditation and mindfulness, and even things like NLP, CBT, all of these things, EFT, all of the T's. The thing is that those things kind of became a bit mainstream, because a lot of them came in through psychology, and people were happy with psychology, and maybe getting some support that way. So the mindfulness movement was very helpful foundation for where we are now, because people have sort of mainstream conditioned people were introduced to, okay, they accept NLP, and okay, they accept mindfulness, and okay, I accept that some form of meditation. And so that's really great. And it's interesting to sort of ride on that a little bit, and build on that with people who are not used to what 5D languaging might be. So that's really interesting. Have you had anything like that come on your path?
Well, I've had a client that I worked with. So she is the same client that I was talking about, that has been a healer for 12 and 15 years. And she loves the ocean, like absolutely. Ocean is her medicine. And she has a really deep core connection, soul connection with the whales. I call her and the mermaids. So I call her the mermaid lady and the whale lady. But she really has this strong desire to also not only help women, but also help men, the surfer men. And she's like, because she's out there, her husband's a surfer. And she said to me, but Mel, they're just not open to the language. They're not open to even meditation. I said, great. How can we meet your clients where they're at? So they love to come to her, because she does a lot of like yoga and I think body movement and things like that. So they come to her for that. I said, how about you talk to them about coming in for a stretch yoga before a swim, and slowly do a bit of meditation. And when you introduce the word meditation, say to them, when you're out in the ocean and you're just there on on the board, and then the wave comes and you drop in and you're just so connected to the elements and nothing else matters. I said, tell them that is meditation. You're experiencing a form of meditation. So, we all have a form of connection to some source. We all have a form of meditation and mindfulness, but it looks so different to everyone else. So her now going, oh my God, light bulb moments went off, and now she's crafting an offer that she's going to be able to get these guys to sit down, understand meditation, mindfulness, and create some beautiful self-love, self-care by doing a circle, but not in the way where it's called we're doing a men's circle, but in a way that can meet them where they're at and start cracking that, that shell opened.
Yeah, amazing. What is your background in that? Like, have you always had an awareness of the more higher frequency, or have you had? What about your upbringing? Were you encouraged in that way, or were you understood in that way at all?
Yeah, thank you for that question. I love that. And this is not much I get to share at all. And when I do, like I shared this part with some close friends, and it kind of just triggered them and they didn't have an understanding. Oh, Mel, you think you're better than everyone. But so I'm really glad that you got this space and asked that question. So I have been, ever since, as far as I can remember, ever since I was little, I've always had an awareness of what reality is, in terms of I've had spirits used to always come and visit me. Past loved ones will come to me after they pass and give me messages to give out to, to give to the family, and things like that. And I remember being, I think I was about year 4 when I first experienced astral traveling. Like, I remember there was a period where I would close my eyes and I would be shunk in space and it would be all dark and just seeing stars. And I think I was probably 9 at that time, it fucking freaked me out. Like, I didn't have an understanding of what was happening. So I remember it was a period of time, maybe a couple of months, where I would fall asleep just with my eyes open till I eventually nodded off, because I was experiencing all this and being so freaked out. I remember there was a park close to our home and I walked past and there was a spirit there, a little girl spirit just hung out, and I don't see them. I feel them and they give me messages and I can sense, okay, it's a little girl, it's an old man, it's this, it's that. And it used to freak me out. My parents were a array of backgrounds. So I had a lot of Buddhism in there. I had a lot of Christianity in there. So when I go to my uncles and aunties, I used to have to go Sunday school all the time. And I questioned, going, if we're all from, Adam and Eve, why do we look so different? They say that where there's only humans, there wasn't a past life, but I just had a knowing that there's past life. I used to love looking out in the stars and going, but we're from out there, and I believe in aliens. And then when I go to my mum, she's the Buddhist side, where they, praying, and they did have that sense of, she nourished me when I said, oh, so-and-so granddad came to visit and he's passed on a message. She goes, okay, that's good. Like, so I didn't feel like I was crazy. That, it was acknowledged that I do feel spirits. And my mum had a lot of abilities, like around her menstrual season, she could sense and physically see if someone was going to be hurt. But that was it. That was as much as the conversation went. So I felt very alone at times. And as my senses grew, I felt very alone, because back and growing up, in my 20s, if you talked about aliens or if you talked about spirits and dead loved ones, you thought to be crazy, like, oh, you're crazy, you can't talk about that. So I am so glad that we're in a time now, and I didn't ever think that I'll be alive to see this in our lifetime, where it's so open and people are getting so connected and people have a genuine thirst for learning more, discovering more, coming back into connections where there's safe space where you can talk about energies and aliens and consciousness and past lives. That, it just absolutely lights me up. And I'm so excited for that, like, so excited.
I sometimes wonder, like, because the world we live in it's more and more normal, and we talk like this, and I think, oh great, we're moving. And then sometimes on social media I look at the comments
Mm,
and then I go, okay, yeah, not everybody gets it. There is still a lot out there that is like, oh, that's a little disappointing. However,
yeah.
there is also an awareness of a splitting earth where there is a reality shift, and that there will be an earth that stays in the 3D, and then there is an earth that goes to 5D and beyond. So I think that it's just, which ship are you on, sort of thing. So it's amazing that your mum particularly was quite open to that. Have
Mm.
you had any, has there been any evolution in that with the family and things like that with what you do now?
No, so my family's still very stuck. I think even my mum having awareness of spirits. I think that's as and past lives, but I think that's as where it stops kind of thing. I think that happened a lot because of the war. There was a lot of disruptions from when she was young, so getting ripped away and a lot of that nurturing in terms of pass down of knowledge and sacred rituals was for a very long period of time because of the war was not practiced because they're just in survival mode. So I'm pretty much the black sheep of the family. I'm the eldest of, I think, 8 of us, just from my mum's side. And I had my brothers and sisters, they were having a conversation. They're like, do you know what Mel does? Do you know what Mel does? No, I don't know. She talks on podcasts, make people cry, and they don't even want to know. Like, they're like, yeah, she just loves crystals and she, meditates and breath work. And they don't want to know too much about it. They just kind of let me be and don't ask. Um, but then on my father's side, because they're from Angola, which is a country in Africa, my grandmother she's passed now a few years. And I wished that we had more time so I can ask her so much more, just have these beautiful conversations. Because ever since I was little, she told me stories about mermaids and how they called her and how she's seen them and how, she was born in a hut in Africa and how there was this big serpent in there and what it represents. And because there was a lot of war there was a lot of slavery in Angola for hundreds and hundreds of years. There's a lot of tribal information again that has gotten lost, and
Mm.
she still held so much of it. And it was such a shame that I didn't get an opportunity to go, what tribe did you come from, and just to learn more and go and see and discover, and go back to Angola and see if I can find some tribal members, elders that still pass on that tradition to learn more. I think she's the only person that has been in my life that I felt saw me and understood me. Oh, it made me cry. But she has given me so much unconditional love and just got me, like, saw my soul in
Wow.
that sense.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah.
Obviously sounds like there was a soul contract there all along and is there.
Yeah.
So what is the genetic heritage you have?
Yeah, so I'm a bit of a fruit salad. So my mum is from East Timor. She's Chinese Timorese, plus she's mixed with the native Timorese there. So there's, the native Timorese culture, and then you've got the Chinese Timorese culture. Throw in there a bit of Indian and Russian in her blood there.
Wow.
And then my father is Angolan, which is African, and Portuguese. So my grandfather was Portuguese. So
Wow, what a
a
super
whole lot of
interesting mix. No wonder you're so beautiful. It's
oh, thank
amazing.
you.
What an interesting mix of things. So what do you most align with within yourself?
Mm. So I had a lot of identity crisis growing up, a lot, because I would feel that I would never fit in that Chinese Timorese culture. They're always like, oh, you're Portuguese. And, because I was quite fair and didn't quite look like them. And then when I go to my grandmother's side, my father's side, they're like, oh, you're Chinese and, kind of thing. So I always felt this disconnect of who, like, culturally who I was, and didn't really, I never felt aligned with a nationality. And it really played very heavily growing up until probably I'm on 40 now, so it's probably going on 15 years. I've just went, you know what? I've had this big realization that I am not any nationality. I am just this child of this universe. And when I had that realization and that awakening within myself, I just felt so like I've just felt myself and went, oh my God, I am just me and I'm a child of this universe and that's who I am, because that's the other part of that identity, right? We're in that need of needing to be connected with a country or a culture to try to think that if we resonate with the culture and I can identify with the Chinese culture, if I can just identify with that Portuguese or African culture, then I know who I am. Then I feel like I'm coming home. Then I have this identity. But it's just bullshit. That's just part of the matrix in conditioning to feel that we need to be a part of a culture, because it takes away us really coming in and discovering who we truly are and feeling our soul and that resonance within ourselves. So, I challenge anyone that listens, just really go in and sit with that, really go in and discover and have that breakup. Yes, there's going to be beautiful parts of cultures that really deeply resonates with you and aligns with you and loves, but that's not who you are. That is not who you are.
Yeah, I love that so much. And I totally 100% agree. And I think this is part of this whole evolution of we're in when we look around. The fact that we used to live tribally and we used to live in a tribe with similar people in the tribe, and we used to live at a piece of land that was our piece of land. And that's where we stuck to, that's the territory. And so we've evolved so much because then we started moving around and then we started to be exploring, and then we blended with other tribes and other cultures, and now you can't really identify anybody who is of a one strain, if you want to call it that. It doesn't exist. And so what I love is this blending, and now that we're getting even more so that we're like fluidly going into genders and things like that. So I have this, like, one thing I thought once, especially with the gender situation, was that I have this, I don't even know what show it is. I don't know if it's Star Wars. I think it might be Star Wars. When they go on to, like, there's a somewhere there's a spaceship and everybody lands there and it's a communal area and there's like a cafe sort of thing and everybody meets up and there's people from galactic everything. So there's somebody with a long head and there's a tall one and a green one and one looks like a human and one looks like a fish, and there's all these different people that are all just hanging out in this thing, and it's this galactic community. And I thought, that might be where we're heading. And that's why all of this sort of gender fluid and all the different types of people and all the different cultures are blending, so that we're used to that. And as we're heading more and more, the only addition we need now is some galactic family, which we know is already here, but people, not everybody knows. And so it's like, oh, that's the next part of it. It's like, okay, cool. So it's quite neat to see it unfolding in this way. And like you say, the sooner we let go of identifying with a particular identity, the easier and smoother that transition is going to be, because it's challenging for people. It freaks them out, the idea of galactic families coming down here, or the fact that people are gender fluid. People get so resistant. That's not how it is. And it's like, you don't have to live that way. However, it is the world we live in. We are blending into a more collaborated and unified community, and part of that is the galactic family will really mix things up. Once you wait till you get a galactic boyfriend. You bring a galactic boyfriend and, hi mom, there's my boyfriend.
Oh my goodness, I just so can't wait for that. And even though I say I can't wait for that, right? Like, I can't wait for the galactic beings to come down and, like, here we are. But I know that we're just not ready for that. Even though I've connected with them for so many years and I'm so excited, I know my nervous system will freak out. I'll be like, oh my God, because, like, I start freaking out when I can feel a presence there. I'm like, I feel my nervous system goes into, it's that default fight or flight, right? It's like, oh, there's something that's that's threatening, that's not natural, it's supernatural there, that, just kind of close up. So I've been working on like, it's okay, open up and receiving. But yeah, I can't wait. Imagine my daughter comes in, hey mom, look at this.
This is a click click call, whatever you're going to call. I don't know what their languages are, what their
Yeah.
names are. The thing is, though, like you say, it is really another element to why we are here, to
Yeah.
support people. And a big part of it is what you mentioned is nervous system, and nervous system regulation is such a key thing. In my coaching program, we work with 4 pillars, and the first pillar is physical, which a lot of us do. We work with those 4 pillars.
Yeah.
However, with the physical pillar, a lot of what I bring in there is biohacking tools, things like
Ooh.
ice baths and
Yeah.
breath work and all of these sort of things. My reasoning behind that is not so much from high performance and not so much from inflammation, all that sort of thing, those are great
Right.
benefits. We're in this vessel. The reasoning from biohacking perspective is as we optimize our cellular function, as we let in more light, as our mitochondria is able to receive in a different level, that's needed. We need to upgrade our vessel in order for us to be able to receive this higher frequency that we're moving to. And a big part of that is, like you say, the nervous system. And what is going on in the world right now is there's so much nervous system dysfunction from the fact that we are in this crazy, challenging time, that people are holding on to what doesn't exist anymore, that people are fearful of what might be, and also that there is a lot of environmental pressures and toxins and things like that. So it's really important that we have an understanding of preparation for receiving at another level. So yeah, it's really interesting, like you say, about nervous system as well. Do you bring that into your work? I imagine you would.
Yeah, so I do a lot with the nervous system, like doing a lot with the nervous system, and I constantly work with it on myself. Like right now, I'm going through a 28-day challenge, and it's my own challenge that I've just created for myself to go, oh, I've worked so much on my nervous system because of a lot of the trauma. But after losing Elevate 2 years ago, I have noticed that my nervous system is shot. Like, even though I'm doing meditation and I'm waking up and going for my meditative walks and I'm doing some breath work, I'm still energetically closed. And from that closure and feeling not safe in my body to open up and receive abundance, my world abundantly has come crashing down. And I'm like, but I'm doing all the things, and what is happening? So, and I realized that, oh my God, my nervous system is just shook. Like, I don't feel safe in my body to receive. So even though I've noticed that now, I'm doing the work very intentionally to re-calm, so to speak, my nervous system, doing a lot of nervous system work, which in turns then works on your energy body, right? Which in turns, if you work on your nervous system, your body feels safe, then energetically you're going to be open to receiving, because you could be open to receiving mentally, but if your body doesn't feel safe to receive, then you'll have that energetic block. So I'm doing very intentionally going in and reprogramming the subconscious mind, plus working on my body to be open to receiving, and that is a lot of nervous system work in that.
Amazing. When you talk about Elevate, was your previous business, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was my first very soul-led business, where it was a co-working space for all the light workers to come in and work together, and I ran workshops. I also had a Believe studio in there, which healers can come and use for healings and women's circles and all that kind of stuff. So but I was still very trapped, even though I was very soul-led and set it up and looked after myself. Then I found myself going back into that 3D framework of doing business and that hustle, and it has to be done this way. So there was a lot of disjointed with how my business was, the intention of my business, to then how I was showing up on the masculine structure, which was that 3D hustle. What is the number I'm chasing? Then on the flip side, I had impact and love. So because of that, I honestly, truly believe I manifested the shutdown, the physical closing of my doors. Yes, because it was because of the pandemic. But if I take myself out and look what was going on, I realized it was me and not feeling worthy. And when I went into the space of having to get my business to a certain point, I shut down. I was like, my nervous system's like, this is freaking out. We're in that hustle. We're focusing on different things. And I closed, my body closed up to receiving. So I shut the doors down, so to speak.
And again, it's painful. It's painful because of part of the old way of, there has to be a death of the old as well, doesn't there?
Yeah, there
And
is.
that's part of the death of the old, and that's painful. There's a pain in that as well.
So much grieving. And I love that you said there's that death of the old, because part of this resetting of my nervous system and reprogramming my subconscious, this is the healing work from closing the doors 2.5 years ago. And I'm only in a good space now to be able to go and do the deeper healing of that. There's something that's come up that I want to have a beautiful sacral ceremony where I'm calling in that version of me 2.5 years ago, that identity, and allowing her to give me all the wisdom, and then doing a fire of a burning to release her and say, it's okay, it's time to go. So yeah, I'm going to do that beautiful ceremony after this really deep reprogramming phase that I'm going through.
Beautiful, amazing. What star sign are you?
I'm Pisces.
Are you? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So am I. That's, I think we did get to that. The thing is, though, I'm just like, you seem so orderly and structured. What human design are you?
I don't know that. I think I'm a manifestor generator.
Oh, yeah.
When I've done a few, my things. And then in the Ayurveda, I'm very 50% Pitta and 50% Vata. So that's that, that
you and I are so the same.
creative.
I'm also manifesting.
Yeah.
I'm also
Are you?
Pisces. I'm also Pitta Vata. Definitely. So, yeah, very similar. I just don't think I'm quite as orderly as you, though.
Yeah.
Seem quite orderly. Yeah. Oh, that's amazing. So, with your offerings, how do you actually offer them?
Yeah, so I've got a completely new offer suite, which I love because I'm going in down to this 5D. So I love, and this is one thing I teach in 5D. It's like, what do you love to offer and how do you love to bring it out in the world? Because I love in-person connection. I love standing out there and allowing my pitta, my fire to come out. So I've turned a lot of things as in-person events. So I hold a I Am Truth in-person event, which is all about talking about the 5D consciousness, how to evolve ourselves and what that looks like in business, which we touched on earlier. Then I take them through the 5D energetic quantum tool to help shift and reprogram your subconscious mind and in the quantum, the energetic quantum. Then I have my Evolve program, which is an 8-week. It was going to be a 3-person, but I've just turned it online because I've had some people not on the Gold Coast wanting to attend. So it's just going to be an 8-week, and that's where we do energetic mastery. What is your energetic blueprint? How do we continue to heal ourselves and create our business that aligns with us and supports our individual bioconstitution? What does that look like? How do I set up my 24-hour day? How do I set up my month, and looking at the circadian rhythms and the cycles and really bringing that as the foundation of how we show up in business. And then we lay the 5D foundations of your business. How do we set it up? Let's get crystal clear and have that soul activation and remembrance. We're doing a lot of the healing work, a lot of aligning our business and activating that soul remembrance through, sacred rituals and things. And then I have my light leaders. That's the heavy duty, high level business intensive. That's where we get crystal clear on your clarity, your offers that you want to bring out. How do I do systems? Like I'll have templates, plug and play. They also have access to the soul alchemy healing toolbox where they can plug in. They'll have breath work, meditations, activations, all that kind of stuff, subconscious reprogramming as a toolbox to support their personal evolution while they're building, their business in the 5D world. So I've got 3 offers at the moment, which I'm running.
They sound pretty extensive. So it sounds like you've been very, very, very busy getting all of that off the ground. So that's absolutely amazing. Well, what's the easiest way for people to find out more and to connect with you?
Yeah, so the easiest way, I love living on Instagram. So it's I am Melissa Alves on Instagram, and also on my website, melissaalves.com.
And they're beautiful. Your Instagram is absolutely stunning. So very, very good. So I love chatting with you. I definitely would love to go further into some of that cosmic chat. I think it's it's the fun part, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, and we're on the right track, and it's really great to see holding that vision, isn't it? It's holding that vision and knowing that that is where we're headed, which is really powerful. And to see that there are so many ways that people can connect with people like you to get support in order to understand this process, this switch and this change, and to learn and get some tools on board as well to be able to cope with it all. So it's amazing stuff.
And I think the last thing I want to leave with you guys is, evolution and spiritual growth doesn't need to be heavy and dark night of the souls. It can be so much fucking fun. So I just want to reprogram your mind and go, evolution gets to be fun. Because if we think it's all dark night of the soul, then that's what we're creating in our reality. We're going to get more dark nights of the souls to get the awareness. But if we switch out and want to have fun, it gets to be so much fun. Like, we're here, we're in a human body. We get to taste ice cream and watermelon and mangoes and listen to music and dance. So, just embrace life. Just really embrace every moment.
I agree. And I loved listening to somebody who said about the fact that, like, the whole idea of spirituality is heavy and it's dark and the awakening is heavy, dark and painful. And yes, you may have the experiences of that. However, what we're doing is we're bringing in the light. And by being in the light and allowing the light in, we live in a lighter way. And that can be joyful and playful. And as you say, as we clear and as we allow the light in, then there isn't that darkness and that trauma and things like that. So it can be a lot of fun and like you say, chocolate. And I'm also a bit partial to coffee, which is something I'm working on.
But enjoy every sip of it.
I do, absolutely. Very good. Well, thank you very, very much. Enjoyed it very, very much.
Thanks, Wendy.